I ran an art house for about 10 years, and we did contract work for various different game studios, including Riot Games, Blizzard Entertainment, and many, many others. So I've hired and worked with and trained probably almost 100 or more artists. Many of whom are still working in the game industry. Some of them didn't make the cut. And so I wanted to make a video about mistakes that can kill your potential art career. Ironically, not all of it has to do with just your art skill. A lot of people have this misconception that if you're just a great artist, that you can have infinite work, and that it doesn't really work that way. And I'm covering a broad range here, but I work in the video game industry, so these are the kind of things that I've seen, and they were just absolutely, just completely will obliterate any chances you have of working professionally if you do these things. And these are big no-nos if you're just getting started applying for jobs, interviewing. This is the video you're going to want to watch, okay? While I'm discussing this, I thought I'd share with you a little bit of the process of painting a shop in the Twilight Monk game that we are developing. So it's kind of like a 2-for-1. You get a twofer. If you're new here, don't forget to subscribe and check out some of my advanced workshops on concept art for video games and making comics over on my Gumroad channel. I have some free stuff over there as well. One more disclaimer, I have made some of these mistakes when I was young, when I was starting out in my career. So if you've done these things, don't beat yourself up over it. Just chalk it up as a lesson you learned, okay? Everyone's allowed to be an idiot at least one day in their life, right? Okay, big mistake number one, huge ego, little knowledge, okay? This is a common thing. Surprisingly, I've met people who, while I'm interviewing them to see if they're a good fit for the job, they explain to me how we've been doing it wrong for 20 years and they know better. But they've never made a game before. They've never shipped any product of any kind and never even really gotten paid for their artwork aside from, doing a tattoo for Skeety Johnson in exchange for some lunch money in high school. But they know that we're doing it wrong, and they could come in and for a huge amount of money, they could do it right for us. They could show us the light. They could show us the way. And this kind of attitude does not work. Okay, if you're coming in to interview at a job and you think you know more than the people that you're applying to, don't bother going to them. Just go and start your own studio if you're so genius. Big mistake number two is quite the polar opposite. Don't be super squeamish and timid and afraid and verbalize your fear that you're going to be incapable of performing the job during your interview process or while you're discussing it, working with a potential employer or contract employer. When a company is evaluating whether they want to work with somebody, they're not interested in what you're afraid of. What they want to know is whether or not you're going to be able to do the job that they need to make their customers happy or to ship their product. And this is the same with you. Imagine if you were going to a mechanic and you needed to get your car fixed because you got to get to your job, you've got a big date this weekend, and you got to drive. But your mechanic says, well, I don't really know that much about carburetors, and I'm not really sure if I'm going to be able to deliver that to you. I'm really worried that you're going to be unhappy with the work I'm going to do. So maybe you should just go and work with a different mechanic. Well, you know what? That's exactly what you would do. And so when you're interviewing for an art job, don't go into these things. You want to instill some confidence. If they liked your portfolio, they like your work enough for a potential employer to take the time to interview you personally means you don't need to waste their time explaining your insecurities. If you got an opportunity, take it. Displaying too much insecurity during the interview process makes the potential employer think that you're going to need a parent and that you're probably not going to be very reliable and you probably will let them down. And for God's sake, do not cry during the interview. So if you have this issue, build your confidence. Just start working on it. It's all internal. Neuro-linguistic programming will help you with this. Getting your head straight about what is a good balance between being confident in your abilities and being a professional and still not necessarily being boastful, okay? You don't want to go too far. Big mistake number three is not knowing your craft. You cannot just assume that because you have a lot of views on Instagram that makes you qualified to, for instance, design characters for a big AAA video game or even an indie video game. The minute that you actually start working with a development team, your work changes because they will tell you, those 3D modelers will explain to you, hey, I need to see more information than what you're used to when you do an Instagram post, okay? I need to see more details. I don't care about the lighting. Lighting can be moved in 3D space. But the modeler needs to be able to build your designs in 3D. That is what I'm talking about, is knowing your craft, understanding your craft. A lot of people think, well, there's all just these gatekeepers. They don't let people in because they're gatekeepers and they like to keep gates. Well, no, man, it's what it really is. It's like you need to be a contributing member of the development team to secure your necessity. They need to know that they need you. And if you're just drawing whatever you want and you're not being of service to the developer or to the rest of the team or to the players, well, you're going to get cut. You're going to kill your art career. And if you're studying, and this also goes further, is to say, if you're studying animation, for example, that is a very different discipline than studying concept art for game development, just as an example. That's like saying, hey, I play really good, touch tag football. Do you think that I could go and be a professional, Major League Baseball player? No. Or it's like saying, hey, I can fly a drone. Do you think that I could fly an airplane? No. These are very different things, man. So like, learn your craft, understand your craft. And a lot of this isn't anybody's fault. It's really just because we don't talk about the actual craft of making games. We talk about the glamorous stuff, the beautiful paintings, the beautiful art that has nothing to do with game development. A big mistake, number 4. Yeah, just don't be a liar. Don't be a liar. Now, most of you are probably going to know this already, but don't be deceptive in your portfolio. Don't put a bunch of art that you didn't make in your portfolio. Don't put a bunch of AI art in your portfolio and then try to pass it off as original, that you know how to do these things that you don't know how to do, because God forbid you actually get the job and you have to do them for money, but you don't know how to replicate them. So then you get fired and then you get burned, you burn bridges, and then you just frustrate the hell out of anybody who even gave you a chance. Because maybe somehow you miraculously skate by in the interview process. They decide they like you and they want to give you a chance. But then you're like, I don't know how to do that. Well, what your portfolio said you did, well, that made up my portfolio. It's not even really me. What do you wouldn't believe people do anything to try to, I guess, steal a job. They just want to take it, but they don't know how to do it. And you'd be surprised how many people try to pass this off. Big mistake number 5, and this one needs to be said because you might be thinking you're doing something good by posting all of your political views and your really divisive opinions about the world and the way that people think and should think. What does any of that have to do with the quality of your work or your professionalism? Posting that all over Twitter and all over your Facebook. Do people use Facebook? Whatever. Instagram, Threads. Just let your work speak for itself. If you want to get work as an artist, the best thing to do is let your work speak for itself. Just post about how passionate you are about your work. You don't talk about money, religion, or politics. You make your social media accounts all about your work and how much you love your work and how much you love growing and developing your work. So basically all I'm trying to say with this one is be a professional. Keep your personal things to your personal and let your professional be your professional. Just speak about your work. Just showcase your work. Let that do the talking, man. A big mistake number 6, not being reliable, not actually showing up on time, not delivering what you said you'd deliver when you said that you would deliver it. This was a big one. There were several artists that I worked with, and there were a few, I would say, that just consistently, I give people three chances. The first time you blow your deadline, it's a talking to. And it's a talking to in such a way that's like, hey, look, if our client doesn't know when to expect this, then why would they hire us? The second time it happens, it's a little bit more firm. The third time, it's done. There is no third time. It's the third time means you're done. And the big reason for that is because, as an art house anyway, I basically had a commitment to our employers. And if we did not deliver, it made our whole studio look bad. And we've actually lost clients because I put trust in an artist that I hired, gave a chance to them, and they blew the deadline. And That client doesn't work with us anymore. And, God forbid that happened with a major client, like Riot or Blizzard. That would have just obliterated my relationship with them because I put trust in some artist that I hired. No, there were many nights when I would have to stay up until 4 a.m. to make sure that the job got done because I couldn't even get in touch with the artist. And this happens. Like, I don't know in what universe that's acceptable, but some artists will think that it is. Oh, yeah, greatness takes time, they say. Oh, yeah, it takes freaking communication, too. Funny story, I'm actually still waiting for an artist. I gave her a task 7 years ago. I haven't heard from her since. Like, you wonder why people get frustrated working with artists? It's stuff like that, man. Don't be that way. Don't do that. It's not good for anybody. Big mistake. Number 7 that will obliterate your career. Do not betray the people who give you opportunities. Do not let them down. Here's a short story. I was working with an artist who was having trouble getting work. He was a talented guy. He was a little slow, and he didn't like to change his art style. He only liked to work in one art style. But I had been kind of known for working with this particular client that he really wanted to work with. And he pleaded with me, man. He pleaded. He's desperate. He needed the job. And so I was like, okay, I'll give you a chance, but I'm going to paint over a lot of your work. I'm going to be giving you, some tough feedback, some direction. I had to convince the art manager to give this guy a chance, and I promised him I will make sure that his work lives up to the quality. And he's like, yeah, sure, okay, no problem. And he did the jobs, and I had to completely repaint over a large chunk of it until he finally got it. He started to get it. But then he didn't like that I was taking any money for that. For getting him the job, the opportunity that was slammed in his face. They closed that door for him, and I pried it open for him. And lo and behold, he was not happy. Why was he not happy? Because I was making some profit from this. But he just decided I'm going to go directly to them. So he writes a big email to the producer or the art manager at that studio. And he's like, hey, I'm the artist and Trent's just kind of in the way. He does this to me. And like, what a backstab. And not only did he backstab me, but in a lot of ways, like, I don't help as many people. I have a much higher barrier to, what it takes for me to take somebody in and give them an opportunity or help them these days because of that event. So I guess you would say this one is don't backstab or betray the people that are trying to help you. I mean, that should be obvious, but you'd be surprised. It happens a lot. Ironically enough, I really like the guy and I really want him to succeed. It's an interesting thing because some personality types are just not meant to be working as a production or employee artist. And some personality types really need to be that type of independent. You need to build your own business. It's really important that you find out if you're that type of a personality. If you got to own what you make, for example. And I've got a little bit of that in me too, so I get it. But contextualize the work that you're getting properly. And the people that are helping you to get that work are not trying to exploit or ruin you. It's not intentional. In fact, I would say if you can make yourself, if it's beneficial for them to choose to work with you over working with somebody else, any way you can do that to get your foot in the door, let yourself be exploited a little bit so that they can make money off of you, so that you can get some credibility, and then you turn around and turn that into your own value, your own business. You increase your value that way. You have to incentivize people to help you. A lot of people made a lot of money off of me for my first 2 years as an artist before I even got my first dollar. And that's fine because now I'm not sweating it. And so it took me a while to see that. I had to see this person in a different way for me to accept that. It wasn't personal against me either. They just wanted to be paid more. They wanted to be valued. Don't we all just want to be valued, right? But his particular personality type really needed to own what he makes. And I get that. That's a part of me too. So anyway, that also ties into what I was saying earlier. It's like, don't hold grudges. It's not personal. A big, huge mistake, which I've talked about a couple of times here on my channel. Some artists just don't even apply. They don't even really try. They're working away at their Instagram or they're working away at their social media posts, but they're not actually applying to any jobs. I've done a couple of videos about this recently where I talked about it. There are job listings everywhere, despite all the industry layoffs that are going on of recent times. There's still a lot of job opportunities, especially for junior artists all over the video game industry. There are also a lot of job opportunities at smaller studios. That's what's really going on. is that a lot of people think, oh, there's just no jobs, there's no jobs. No, there's just no jobs at the major studio that's been king of the hill for 20 years. They're not looking for juniors as much, whereas there's still always going to be startups and smaller studios that are constantly. I'm constantly looking for artists. I can't find them, even though everybody's complaining about how there's no jobs. So there you go. Just get out there and actually apply and look at their job listings that they have on their websites. Yes, that does happen. It does exist. And if you don't do this, it doesn't matter how good you are, you will never get a chance if you don't apply. They talk themselves out of it every step of the way. They won't like this part about me. They won't like that. I don't want to have to draw what they want me to draw. Okay, well then maybe I guess you don't want to get paid. I mean, doing art for other people is a job. It is a service, whether you're working for a client or you're working for your audience. But it is still a job. If you don't think you have to earn it, then you don't deserve it. Big mistake. Number 9. I think this is 9. And this one is don't hold grudges and burn bridges. Okay. You will notice I do tell some stories that might be embarrassing to certain individuals if they know who they are, but I'm not throwing anyone's name out there. I am not starting fights with anybody. I've had several YouTube artists try to start fights with me so they can get views. I don't care. Do whatever the heck you're gonna do. I have certainly had many drama surrounding companies that I have worked with in the past that I don't talk about. And why? Because I don't want people tuning into my channel or following my work because of the drama of places that I've worked or people I've worked with. That's not of interest to me. And certainly I don't think that's the focus of the work that I do. I make artwork, I make video games. I bring entertainment for people to enjoy. That's my personal philosophy. I try to keep my nose clean. I try to keep a lot of the drama to a minimum. I try to leave an encouraging message for those of you who do choose to follow my channel. Why? Because that endures. The drama fades pretty quick, especially if you're not feeding it constantly. It is, in fact, a infinite monster that will never be satiated. Okay, so my thoughts on that are like, yeah, sure, I will tell anecdotal stories about a guy I knew once, an art director that I had that I may disagree with, but I will never use their name publicly. No, you can count on that, and the reason is because I don't burn bridges. You burn a bridge like that over some petty thing because you're angry but hurt that somebody got one over on you, or they just didn't like you, didn't give you an opportunity, whatever it is. You burn that bridge, and you burn that bridge with everybody that they know, okay, as well. And also, sometimes you got it wrong. You just saw it differently than they saw it. And so you won't find me talking crap about, specific individuals, except for that one freaking guy. Oh my God, he gets under my skin. I have probably 500 mistakes that I could list, but I'm just going to cap this one at that. The last thing that I'm going to say, and this is probably the absolute biggest one, the numero uno at the core of it all is not believing in yourself and propagating a dialogue of negativity and failure. And it's so easy to do in our modern environment where it's, our competition's blatantly right in front of our face. People are using cheats all around us. It's hard to imagine why we would put ourselves through the hell of, personal mastery and personal struggle. But you need to develop a psychology, a neuro-linguistic programming for yourself. And what that means is just sometimes positive affirmations, as corny and silly as that sounds, can be a good place to start. Instead of saying, I fail at everything, I suck, and nobody gives me a chance because I'm ugly and my artwork isn't good. It's hard for me to even mock that, to make fun of that, because it's so far removed from my mentality. And believe me, it's not like I don't go through failures, but how you contextualize failures, how you contextualize where you're at on the road, the journey, is going to make all of the difference. This is 99% of the battle for your success in your life and the opportunities that you're going to find for yourself. There's so many opportunities as we're reaching into this new era of time in our industry, in the video game industry, in entertainment, in technology. What an incredible time to be alive, and yet so many people are defeating themselves before they can even enjoy it or embrace it. And if you need a little bit more positive encouragement, and if you want to be surrounded by like-minded people who are not just totally negative and depressing as hell, then please do join my Discord. Check out some of my easy art lessons if you need some guided, encouraging fundamentals training. And check out some of my more advanced workshops if you want to know more about like how professionals actually develop concept art that gets used in video games. I've been doing this job for 20 years now, more than 20 years. This is a fraction of what they charge you at an art school. And I actually worked on, big, huge video games. And I can teach you everything that you need to know, things they won't even teach you at those art schools. So don't forget to subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next video. All right, ciao.